Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I've got your first overview and gameplay for the TKX Prototype. This is a currently rank 7 11.0 BR Japanese tank. Again, well, obviously for the Japanese Ground Forces tech tree. And as you can see here, it sits just below the Type 10 in the tech tree. Now, this is all subject to change. This is the dev server, of course, but this is pretty much going to be a Type 10 2, if you will. So it's more or less the same thing as the Type 10, just very slightly different, and I'll point out those differences here. And again, dev server, so some things are subject to change. So this was just added to the dev server today, so bear that in mind. And pretty much everything here, if you look at the stat card, it's going to be about the same as the Type 10. So I've got totally ace crews, I've got full modifications research on both vehicles, just so you can see what these are like when they're totally finished. And it is literally the same vehicle, except the Type 10 in the tech tree right now has an LMG, I believe it's coax mounted, whereas the TKX Prototype does not have an LMG. Not really too big of a deal. Additionally, the TKX Prototype is slightly higher. So if you could see here, this is the roof here compared to the cinder or the cement block back there. And the Type 10 is actually, it's tough to tell exactly how much, but that's about a foot, or for you Europeans, it's about a third of a meter. So it's not all too much, but it is slightly larger, although it at least currently has the same exact weight as the Type 10. Now, I wouldn't be too surprised if that changed come the live server, but again, it is what it is. So, additionally, when we look at modifications, this has the same exact modifications as the regular Type 10, JM12A1, the JM33, and the Type 10, pretty much all in the same exact order, except that the TKX Prototype has a dozer blade, which in theory does add a little bit more armor, but it's only about 5 millimeters of structural steel, so it's not really going to do too much. Now, it does have pretty similar internals. The optics are the same. It does have Gen 2 thermals, if I'm not mistaken. Possibly Gen 3, but more or less Gen 2 and Gen 3 are about the same. If you guys have ever seen my my comparison video between the thermals, Gen 1 to Gen 2 is a huge jump. Gen 2 to Gen 3 really is not that big of a deal. But as you can see here, the layout is a little bit different, at least when it comes to this rear ammo rack. Slightly more forward there. There's a slight difference in terms of just where people are placed. This is more further back behind the cannon breech on the regular Type 10. These are more to the side. So in theory, they should have a little bit more protection, especially from shells going from side to side. But again, dev server, these seating positions could change. Now, one interesting thing I saw is that this only has 5 millimeters of structural steel as the fifth element of that composite armor, whereas the Type 10 has 100 millimeters of rolled homogeneous armor. So it is slightly more in the Type 10, but again, dev server, especially when it comes to armor, these things are subject to change. So that said, let's get into some gameplay here, see what this can do, and see if it's as good as the Type 10, maybe a little bit better, or possibly even a little bit worse. Let's get into it. So one thing I actually, I did test for in the testing grounds before shooting this video was to see how much of the ready rack there was on this compared to the Type 10. And it's the same size. So we have the same exact size ready rack on the Type 10 as we do with the TKX Prototype. So there are no differences there. So if you guys thought that maybe because the TKX is a slightly further position, I guess you could say, in the tech tree, it does not matter in that regard. And again, I feel like this is more or less going to be a clone of the... Let's see here. There we go. Cannon breech. I hate these things so much. Got him! Wow, that was a hell of a kill right there. Even though it was a Centurion, not really all too impressive. It went right around that. And we do have the laser warning receiver. Wondering where that's coming from. Let's see if we can actually fight an MBT 10.0 BR plus. But I'm not holding my breath. So again, I mean, the dozer blade, it's always been kind of more of a gimmick. I can't really remember more than maybe one time where it's mattered in gameplay for me. So it just doesn't feel like it's all too big of a deal. At least, again, to me. Okay. Clearly, can't see that guy, but he's not doing really much damage to me. Not too worried. Should get back on the base there. I'm kind of running out of ready rack ammo, but not too big of a deal. But I mean, thus far, this is performing admirably. I mean, it's a Type 10. Like, what can you really say outside of the fact that this is pretty much just a second Type 10 for people's lineup, which I'm sure Type 10 players are going to be very happy about, because as far as I could tell, I mean, there's not really any people that, you know, I've seen thus far in War Thunder that hate using the Type 10. It seems like a very favored vehicle for a lot of people, and something that really is a big draw to the Japanese ground tech tree. So, as far as what I could tell, this is just as good as the Type 10. Not necessarily worse, not necessarily better, but just as good. And, you know, just as good is just good enough. Gonna fire. Okay, he's... Oh. Okay. Look at that. Just goes right through. I mean, you're getting that 615 millimeters of armor pen max. Now, bear in mind that when I say 615 millimeters of armor pen max, that's at max. I mean, I'm not getting that much. So, more likely, you're going to be getting, what, 510 millimeters of armor pen, as though that's much of a downgrade? Not really. I mean, this thing is just absolutely fantastic. Looked like there was an enemy over there, but I got to worry about these guys a little bit more than the guys up front, or over to the side, rather. But I do have enough in my ready rack. I'm hoping that this guy does not have any ammunition, or has not repaired fully yet. He probably has, and he has. Stupid on my part, but it is what it is. Also, this does have the same exact amount of smoke grenades as the Type 10. I got killed by a Challenger? Eh. Anyways, let's respawn into this, see what we could do. But not too bad, you know. Again, I mean, this is a Type 10, pretty much. Just some slight differences just to call it a different vehicle. Now, one of the bigger issues I have when it comes to dev server gameplay, and I really wish they would change it at least a little bit, is that you're pretty much just facing World War II vehicles in dev server gameplay, except for the somewhat occasional player. But as you can see here, about half of the enemy team is just bots, World War II bots. And that, it's a shame, because you're not really testing this versus better players. So, one, I mean, like, players are obviously going to be more skilled and reactive than bots, but you're also facing it against vehicles that have no chance to beat you. So even if they weren't bots, World War II vehicles would still suck. You know, and so it's not really a fair competition. And I think a large part of that is just because Gaijin wants these vehicles to look really, really good. And what better way to look really, really good than to totally annihilate every single tank in and around your area. So we have an enemy right here. I think that's a World War II vehicle. Yep. Thought I heard someone to the left of me. It is certainly possible, but I'm not sure. Got to look all around here. Now, these Gen 2 thermals are very, very nice. Very, very fun. Yeah, I'm sure that I got someone to the left of me. So, I'm going to do this. Gonna do that. Pop back around. Wow. Okay, that must have been that vehicle there. No biggie. I'll just wait for that base to uncap itself, then I'll go ahead and start capping it again. But again, I mean, if there's one thing I wish I could suggest to Gaijin and have them listen when it comes to dev servers. And dev servers are such a small part of War Thunder. I mean, like, I don't want you guys thinking I'm complaining, because this is more or less, I guess the term might be much ado about nothing. You know, I grew up in a time where I didn't have internet for video games, you know, like none of my games, a lot of the people watching my videos, all that they've known has been online multiplayer. And for me, a game like this is so incredibly fresh. I got killed by that guy. It's so incredibly fresh and new that to be upset about something so minor as, you know, a dev server would be ridiculous. But, you know, if there's one thing I could suggest, maybe increase the BRs of the enemies that you face in dev servers. not even by much, but maybe by like 1 BR, 2 BR. The overall average BR, I'm sure most people would be pretty happy about that. But, you know, with that said, let's get into one more match with the Type 10, or the TKX Prototype. I just got flambasted there in the side by someone. Put this on. Probably a helicopter somewhere. But, yeah, let's get into one more match with the Type 10 Prototype, the TKX Prototype. See what we can do. Okay, we have ourselves the final match here in the dev server. Now, you know, when it comes to the dev server, I just kind of, I don't know if I mentioned it previously, but I just kind of wish that the enemy tanks, at least when it comes to the bots, were a little bit higher BR. Maybe even like an average of 1 BR would be, wow, okay. So that's, even though this is stabilized, as you can see, the cannon just kind of bounced right there. Unfortunately, but such is life, I suppose, in War Thunder. That was a terrible shot. But, again, such is life. You make up with the 4-second reload. Whatever. So we want to keep pushing up here. I've got a feeling that there are going to be enemies trying to shoot at me in a few seconds. Not to worry. Got a dozer blade on front. This thing can stop all types of ammunition. Oh my. Yes, please. Wait. TKX Prototype Shop. Shop, what's that supposed to mean? This isn't going to be a premium vehicle, is it? Or a squadron? Wait a who-diddly here. Did I just discover something? Prototype Shop. That's weird. Maybe it's just kind of like short for workshop. I'm not really sure. Wow, I got that too. That is unusual. Let me know in the comments below, because I have no idea what that's all about. I mean, War Thunder, or Gaijin rather, they have said in the past that they are not going to be putting any top tier premiums in War Thunder. But hey, maybe their opinion is going to be changed. Who knows? Okay, we have ourselves a bad boy there. Cannon breach. Destroyed. And boom, shakalaka-laka. Not too bad. Again, dev server gameplay. Kind of feel bad, sure, but can't really feel all too bad. Because dev server, these aren't humans. So, in short, the TKX Prototype is pretty much the same as the Type 10. Slight differences, nothing major. But again, dev server, wouldn't be surprised if this mass goes up. Even if not initially on the live server, maybe slightly thereafter, just because it does look to be a little bit larger than the Type 10. But overall, pretty much the same. Really, really good offensive vehicle. Not a ton of armor, but you know, if you can stay hidden or flank with this, then you are going to be in excellent shape, just because this thing is a beast on offense with this ridiculous cannon. That said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I am interested to hear your opinions about this vehicle being added to War Thunder, how it's pretty much the same as the Type 10, but slightly different. I mean, can anyone even confirm if this is a real vehicle? I mean, War Thunder is kind of going on a tangent here where they're just kind of adding copy-paste vehicles and making slight differences or no differences at all. For example, you have the Mitsubishi Type 2 and the T2 Early. I mean, those are the same exact vehicle, except very, very slight differences. The only difference here is that this doesn't have anything with AIM-9B loadouts. However, you can equip AIM-9Bs in the custom loadouts, whereas, again, the Type 2, or the T2, has AIM-9B loadouts. So realistically speaking, I mean, it's a very, very deceptive thing. The presets on this are pretty much the same, except this doesn't have AIM-9B presets. So War Thunder is kind of adding a lot of vehicles that that are more or less copy-paste. They are the same, but slightly different, and you have to wonder if it actually is real or not. I mean, technically it's real, but the variant therein just kind of seems wholly generated by War Thunder and Gaijin. So either way, thanks so much. Thanks for watching, and see you on the other side. Take care, everyone. Man, that was a sloppy ending.